It was 10 days before the election, and on one side, the losing side, things were falling apart. Ben Smith at Politico.com and Dana Bash at CNN reported that the Republicans' vice presidential candidate, Sarah Palin, was running what they called an insurgency against the rest of the campaign. It was the battle of the anonymous sources. One says Palin was going rogue. Another says she'd like to go more rogue. Another calls Palin out as a diva. Quote, she does not have any relationships of trust with any of us, her family, or anyone else. She is playing for her own future and sees herself as the next leader of the party. Remember, divas trust only unto themselves, as they see themselves as the beginning and end of all wisdom. This is during the campaign. The Palin-affiliated anonymous sources all dump on McCain campaign manager Steve Schmidt, and in particular on the campaign's senior advisor, Bush administration veteran Nicole Wallace. Politico wrote, quote, Palin's partisans blame Wallace in particular for Palin's avoiding of the media for days and then giving a high-stakes interview to CBS News' Katie Couric. Politico also described Palin as particularly disenchanted with Nicole Wallace. When the McCain campaign imploded in those last 10 or 12 days before the election with this stuff, I remember thinking at the time that Nicole Wallace must, of all the people involved in this thing, have the most interesting stories to tell. Because here is how she responded when this all blew up, when this whole Palin insurgency thing blew up at the end, and all these folks started blaming Nicole Wallace for everything. Ms. Wallace gave the same quote to both CNN and Politico at the time. I don't think I've ever really seen anything like it, and I still think it's remarkable. She said, quote, if someone wants to throw me under the bus, my personal belief is that the most graceful thing to do is to lie there. And, metaphorically speaking, she did. Sarah Palin and Palin's anonymous source partisans trashed her up and down, blamed her for the RNC buying Palin's wardrobe thing. They blamed her for the Katie Couric interview. They blamed her for everything bad about Sarah Palin on Saturday Night Live. And Nicole Wallace, as she said she would, kept her counsel. When Governor Palin's book came out, celebrating that insurgency against the rest of the campaign, she called the book Going Rogue. Ms. Palin, again, blamed it on Nicole Wallace by name over and over again. And Nicole Wallace, again, true to her word, kept her counsel. Well, now Nicole Wallace has a new book. It's a novel, it is fiction, about the nation's first female president, a Republican with the nation's first female chief of staff, running a re-election campaign against a female Democratic opponent. And the wrench that the Republican president throws in the works at the last minute is picking a new vice presidential running mate, also a woman who happens to be a Democrat, who seems familiar. In the story, the running mate is named Tara. She is described as the president's eccentric running mate who hijacked the campaign. Our hero in the book, the chief of staff, says she, quote, disliked everything about Tara. She was loud, tacky, and rude. She seemed to calculate the least presidential approach to every situation and pursue it with vigor. Tara is a surprise pick. She goes rogue frequently. The press can't get enough of her. She draws large crowds. Our hero, the campaign manager, chief of staff person, worries mightily about her inappropriate campaign trail wardrobe. And it is finally time to talk to Nicole Wallace about this new book. She is the interview. Next.